I want to welcome you. First advisor update of the season. I said earlier, I can't believe it's already November. Seems like the year is flying by. So excited. We got our first October simulator almost in the books. Hopefully, you saw the update. We did extend the deadline for that sim race to November 10th. So you've got one more week to post times for the sim race. And we're going to talk about why we made that change here in just a few minutes, but I want to make sure you knew that. To start off, I do want to make sure everybody has it on their calendar. Our championship race, which is our season championship, which is for the whole globe now, will be in Detroit, Michigan on May 13th and 14th. So we're excited about that. And hopefully, you'll mark your calendar for that and hope to see some of you there. I also want to thank Marietta already said hello, but I want to thank Florida Power and Light for their sponsorship. I really appreciate everything they've done for the Drones in School program in Florida. And because of their support, hi Marietta, there she is. Because of their support and everything they've done for us, we're able to host a Florida State Championship. So, Marietta, I don't know if you want to say any FPL words of wisdom. Put you on the spot there.
Course. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I know some of you still, I saw the notes, some of you are still with your kids and all that. And that is what we're really excited for. That's the inventory that I personally take in the commitment to the sport called Drone School or Drone Racing, I think is the actual sport name. But thank you for being such really good partners. It makes it very easy for me to go in these meetings and tell other corporate people, hey, these are very committed educators and they're doing work we can't do. Your boots on the ground. So thank you for multitasking. Take care. And we're just so happy to be a part. And I look forward to seeing you if you're in Florida. Is everybody from Florida on this call, Tad?
Some are not.
Some are not.
Majority
Okay.
probably
But
are.
for those in Florida, we look forward to seeing you at the Florida State Drones at School second annual Drones at School Florida State Championship. We're really excited about that. And for those who I haven't met out of the state, I'm trying to figure out how to argue my way to go to AUVSI and meet you at nationals. I just started writing that in the budget, Tad, so I'm gonna make a stronger argument this year.
That's great. Yeah,
So I
that'd
can
be
finally meet
awesome.
all these mysterious great people from who are in drones at schools all around the country. So hope
That's awesome.
keep going, and if your battery gets hot, put it in the sand. That's all I know. All right.
That's right. That's right.
All right.
We
All
don't
right.
want any
Bye.
smoking or flaming batteries. That's a bad day. So thank you, Marietta. Thank you again, FPL, for their support. We have a huge contingent of teams in Florida now, so we're really excited for that. And as Marietta already mentioned, we will have the second annual Florida State Championship. It's going to be on April 24th. 2026, and it's going to be at Embry-Riddle University, and that's open to the top 20 middle school and the top 20 high school teams in Florida. And so both of our competitions, the season championship and the Florida championship, we're taking the top 20 schools. And so how do you qualify is the question in the chat. And I'm glad you asked because I thought you might. And so we want to talk about how that works. So the way it works is we have different race formats. I think most of you know this. We have the simulator race, which is just in Velocidrone. That's the one we've been running in October. We also have virtual races. We'll talk about how those work, but those happen where you race at your school and you submit everything online. So you don't have to go anywhere. You just do an actual live race. You're flying the actual drone at your school. And then we have live races where you compete with someone else. So you would go to their school or they would come to your school and you would have a little match or a little tournament with a number of teams. For live racing, you kind of have to be in an area where we have an event partner who's hosting races. So in Florida, I know we have some in the Miami area. I know that the Benjamin School is hosting one. We're going to get that posted up here this week. That's going to be later in the season, I think January or February. Ohio will have some races. So if you're in the Ohio area, there'll be some live racing here. But a lot of the country, we don't have a ton of teams in a single location. So there might be 5 schools or 6 schools in a state, but they're not all close together. So they don't really get the opportunity to have live racing. So the live racing is kind of restricted to our states that have more teams and more presence. If you want to host a race, let us know. I'll talk about that here in a little bit, but that's how those work. The virtual races then all happen online. They're open to anyone. That's our most popular. And that's where your students get the most because they get to show off their portfolio, their team display, their marketing video, and they get to do racing with the live drone. And then our simulator races is just really about pilot skill, and it's only in Velocidrone. So what happens is you can earn season points for your team and how you perform in each of those different categories. Okay, so if you participate in a simulator race, or for every simulator race you participate in, and there's 4 of them in the season, your team will earn between 2 and 3 points for each race. Okay, everybody gets 2 points just for participating. If you put up a time, as long as you get through the track 3 laps, you put up a time, even if it's a really slow time, you put up a time, you get 2 points. Okay. The top team gets an extra point, so they get 3 points. The second fastest team gets 0.9 bonus points. So it's basically 0.1 bonus for every spot you are in, 10th through first, with first being 1 extra point. I guess ninth would be 0.1 points. Okay, so those teams get that bonus. So you're going to earn between 2 and 3 points every time you race. So obviously you want to perform well, but as long as you're in the mix, you could still be in that top 4 if you participate every time. Okay, so the idea is to get people participating. That's really the goal for that. In the virtual races, it's a similar format, but because we have more things that are viewed or evaluated in the virtual races, the points is a little different. So what we do in the virtual race is there are 4 categories that are judged. Okay, one is the race itself, so your race time that you submit for the virtual race. That's one of those. A second thing is your portfolio, your student portfolio that's submitted. That, along with your team display, gets into a display and marketing score. We also look at those 2 things and we give a design and engineering score, which is really how you've designed the drone, not as much on the marketing piece. And then the marketing video itself is also a score. So there's 4 different categories that we score, and those are in the season guide. So if you look at the season guide, you can see all those. For each of those, wherever you rank, you get, if you're first place in that category or that thing that is assessed, so you're the fastest race time, you get 2 points. Okay. If you're second fastest, it's 1.8. You'll see that there on the screen. Third is 1.6, 1.4, all the way down to 10th is 0.2, and then nothing after that. That also, those points are for the portfolio and display. So if you're the best portfolio and display, you get 2 points. And then 1.8, 1.6, all the way down on the scoring on our rubric. Marketing video, same thing. Design engineering, same thing. So those points get added together. If your total does not equal 5 points, you get 5 points. Okay, so 5 points is the minimum score if you participate. If your team scored above 5 points, so let's say they got first place in all 4 of those, you would get 8 points because you would get 2 points for first in design and engineering, 2 points for first in marketing and display, 2 points for your marketing video, and 2 points for racing. 4 times 2 is 8, so you would get 8 points. It's not very often that a team gets all 8 points. Okay, they would be exceptional. So you're going to be somewhere in that 5 to 8 range. So you can see that participation is heavily weighted. We want you to participate. We know from the research and the things we've done over the years, participating in these virtual races helps your team gets better. They see the score, they get motivated, they see where they rank, they get feedback from our judges, and that's what pushes your team to get better. So you really want to participate in those. Even if you're dead last, you're going to get 5 points. Okay, you're only 3 points from the leader, If somebody got first all the way across the board, they'd have 8 points. You'd only be 3 points behind them, so you wouldn't be out of the running. So all those are tabulated throughout the 4 virtual races. The virtual races run in November, December, January, and February. At the end of that time, the top 6 teams get invited. Okay. Now, if we get to the virtual race, right, and somebody has already qualified because they've already scored enough points in the simulator race, then we move down to the next person in virtual. So the virtual keeps going down until we find somebody who has not qualified, and they would be able to go to that season championship or the Florida State Championship if you're in Florida. Same thing again happens in the live racing. In the live racing, there's one more category because we have capture the flag. So in live racing, you can get between 5 and 10 points. Okay, 5 is a minimum, up to 10 if you scored first in all 5 categories. So that's the way all those work. And each of those buckets is separate. We don't add them together. They're all separate. So we pull from the simulator races. The simulator races end first. So those get put in. These 4 teams qualify. Then we go into the virtual racing. Teams qualify. If somebody already qualified in the simulator race, we bump to the next person until we find somebody who has not been able to go. Next is live racing. That's the last thing that wraps up. Again, if somebody qualifies in live racing, but they already qualified in virtual, we'll go down the list. If for some reason we have to, go back and forth or say, hey, we've got everybody that can attend in virtual race, then we'll go back to the sim race to pick up those extra spots. So that takes care of 15 of the 20. The last 5 spots are our wild card spots. Wild card spots, 1 spot is automatically given to the Florida State Championship middle school team and the Florida State Champion high school team. So whoever wins that, they automatically go in. Again, same kind of deal. If that team is already qualified through one of the other ways to get in, then we go down the list to find someone who has not qualified, who's the highest scorer at the Florida Championship to get into that championship event in Michigan. Other state champions would also be there. We don't have currently any other states that are planning a state championship. Ohio has been discussing it, but I'm not sure if that's going to come through. If they do, they would get the other spot. And then the remainder, we fill in from season participants. With these, we don't really have a specific criteria for those extra wild card spots, but what we really are doing is looking at teams that maybe didn't get started strong, but they finished strong, and that they look like they will be competitive at that championship event, either in Florida or in Michigan. So that's really what we're looking for, as teams that maybe they are a brand new team. They didn't know anything in the first couple of months, but now, hey, they're really coming on. Wow, they're really competitive. So they scored high at the end of the season to incentivize, again, for your teams to continue to iterate and get better. That's what we want to do. Any questions on that? Don't hear any, don't see in the chat. Feel free to hop in the chat and post a question if you have one. So wanted to kind of explain how that all works. It's kind of a black box. We knew how it worked, but you probably didn't. So wanted to let you know how that happens for the season. Throughout the season, also, as we see how the scores are coming in, sometimes we throw in extra bonus points for maybe hitting a certain time or improving a time from one race to the next. Then we'll award some extra bonus points to kind of even out and give some teams that maybe got a little bit behind in the beginning some chances to catch up. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for you to qualify into those positions. The next thing I want to talk about is our virtual race. So the November virtual race released today. That is now on the website and available for you. So the way the virtual race works, for those of you that are new, I'll go over here to the Drones in School website. So when you come down here to events, go to competition and go to virtual race. You'll now see that we have our virtual race is released. We have our universal time trial, our UTT track setup is right here. And then we have a link for submissions. So for the virtual race, you will, let me scroll up here to the top so you can see what you're going to submit. Okay, so these are the things you would need to submit for the virtual race. You would need to submit a YouTube or a shared drive link to the race DVR footage or camera video of your students running that track with their top 3 laps. Okay. So they're going to probably use the goggles to record them is the best way to do it. And then that way we can track the time really easily. They also can submit their team portfolio, their team display, and their marketing video. So all 4 things get submitted into our form. This here lays out the track that you're going to be flying. So you click on that, it shows you a little 3D model of what the track looks like, and then some descriptions here of what that would be. And then here's the measurements of the actual track. Okay, so you're going to get that as close as you can. Try to be accurate. That's all we ask. We know it's sometimes a little hard. If you got questions, if you're not sure about where something should be, let us know. We try to lay that out. If you kind of start here from this gate, it's the finish gate, go 5'6" over, okay, 3 foot up from the start, and then up here to this gate, and kind of everything measures off, kind of going around that way. Okay, this center gate here is in the middle of that 23 feet. And then down here is your track, again, a little 3D layout that shows you the course path. So your students can fly, set that up. You can fly it as many times as you want. You're just going to submit your top time. Don't have to submit every time, just submit the top one overall. So you'll submit that video, then you'll submit your portfolio and display and your marketing video. All that will be evaluated by our judging team. They'll look at all that virtually, remotely, and they will score that. If you do the DVR, so question in there is, do we have to video a race clock? If you are flying in the goggles, you can just display the timer on the goggles using the OSD, the on-screen display would be the easiest, or you could, have a timer and do it that way. Either way is acceptable. Good question. We kind of know from the video, the only thing the timer helps us out with making sure that somebody didn't speed it up. So if we have something on the screen that has a clock, again, you can display that on your goggles, or you can just use a phone and display it that way. Either way would work. Other questions on virtual race? Okay, so again, that's all here. And you have until midnight on November 30th to submit that time in these resources. Down here at the bottom, there's a link where you would submit all of that for this competition. You'll put in your email address, your school name, your team name, and then, I put something in there so it'll let me go on to show you. And then you'll put your reported time. Now, this is a good segue. Let's say that, you're a brand new team. It's November. You haven't really figured everything out yet, right? Maybe you don't have a pilot that can make 3 laps yet. It is possible, right? Because they're still learning how to fly. You could just put 9999 in there, like it says, and put NA for your video, because we don't have a video to do. So I would put that in. I put in NA down here. And do I want to submit additional files? Yes. I hit next. And now I can submit my portfolio, my display, my marketing video. So as long as you submit at least one of those 4 things, a race video, a portfolio, a team display, a marketing video, one of those 4 things, you have participated in that event and you will be awarded season points. And your students will get feedback. We don't really give a lot of feedback on the race time because it's obvious. But on the other items, they'll get some feedback from our judges to help them improve. So again, really cannot stress enough how important it is. Even if you're like, hey, we didn't get much done, submit what you have, right? Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. We just want to go ahead, submit what we have, and then boom, we'll improve from there. That's what this is all about. If you was like, hey, we go ahead and submit. We're afraid we might forget. So on the 20th, we submit it and like, okay, we're done. And then over Thanksgiving break, a student goes home and they just knock it out of the park and make this awesome video. And like, oh man, we already submitted it. Now we're sunk. Not a problem. Just go back in and just resubmit. We only score the last item submitted. Okay. So if you go back, like, no problem, just enter everything again, submit the stuff again, boom. We would look at that one over the earlier submission. So you can always improve up to midnight on the 30th. Let's talk about simulator racing. We just are finishing simulator racing with our October race. And we'll talk about our races components that we've had a little bit of challenges with. But one update for the November simulator race, not the October race, for the November race, we are letting you fly any of the micro class quads. So in October, you could only fly the Tiny Hawk or the Tiny Hawk 2 in October. But to simplify the process of getting these times in, and to prevent a student from accidentally, flying the wrong drone and then not counting for us, we're allowing any micro class quad. So when you go into Velocidrone and you click on the add quad, there's a little menu that says what class, click micro quads. You'll see it here on the screen, micro quads, and they can pick any one of these they want. We sent out a little update for the October race from our pro pilot Screecher, Spencer Canizaro. He'll probably also do one with a recommendation of which quad he likes the best. So if your students want to play around with it, feel free. They can experiment with different ones. Doesn't matter which one they fly. Whatever the fastest time is the one that will go on the leaderboard. Just a couple of things on Velocidrone. We're going to talk about races and how you connect Velocidrone to your team. And that's something we've kind of struggled with. There's two things you need to make that happen. One is the Velocidrone user ID. The only way that I know to find the Velocidrone user ID is to go into Velocidrone, and it will be here in this upper right corner. It says UID. That number is unique to your account. The other thing you need is the player name. Okay, so this will be your player name. So when you're actually flying, you'll see the player name over here. Now, that user ID never will change. Okay, so when you have a user ID, that ID will be tied to that Velocidrone account no matter what the player name changes to. This prevents people from, changing that player name and, playing on different teams with the same pilot. So that user ID is unique, and that is tied to that account that you're using. And no matter what the name changes, that user ID stays the same. Now, let's say that you had a team name and maybe you got this Velocidrone account. You didn't know how it worked, right? You just made up a name. And you're like, man, I don't really like that name. It doesn't really make sense now. It's a different team. The team changed their name. Originally, they were the Lemon Squishies, and now they're the Fireflies. And so I want to change that player name. Remember, the user ID will not change. That will always stay the same. But you can change the player name. Okay? And you do that by logging into Velocidrone. So you go to velocidrone.com and you log in. So I'm going to log in here with one of our accounts. There we go. Okay, so once I'm logged in, I will see my username over here. If I click on that little link to that name and I click profile, this is where I can change my player name. Okay, so I have my name, which I can call that the name of my school or whatever I want. And then this is the player name. So that's the thing that shows up in Velocidrone when I'm flying. And that's what shows up on the leaderboard. So if you're like, I don't really know, I don't see my team on the leaderboard, make sure that that name is the one you're looking for. And if it's not what you want it to be, you can log in and change that. It does have to be unique. It does have to, contain no spaces. I don't think it can have special characters. There are some restrictions on there. If you try to change it, it'll let you know, like, yeah, you can't do that. But I know it can't have spaces in it. Okay, so there's some restrictions there. Once you save that, then that will change in Velocitron. When you log in, you'll have a new player name. Now remember, the user ID will not change. That will always stay the same. A few other things you can do here in Velocidrone that you maybe didn't know about. This is where you can change your password. So if maybe a student left your team, you're like, hey, I don't want them to use this account, you can change your password. If you think maybe a student had shared a password, you can change it there. You also can click on My Licenses. So let's say that, and I'm sure this has happened to some of you, I've installed the software, and then I came into school after Thanksgiving break, and all my laptops are gone. The IT people brought in new ones, and I did not know what was happening. Or maybe a kid broke one, or maybe a hard drive crashed. I mean, who knows what could be, where I lost access to that or machine that account was tied to. In here, I can click unassign, and that will pull the license off of that laptop or computer it's assigned to, and then I can log into a new computer and it will be assigned to that device. So I can manage those there. You can also download Velocidrone installer. So if I just need to get the software on a different device, I can do it from here. It'll tell me my premium access, which you all should have microclass quads on your premium access. Okay, so those are some things you can do in Velocidrone. Your order history will be there. And if you have times posted, this account doesn't have any times posted. But if I have times posted, I can click on My Times, and the leaderboards that I'm on will show up here. So if you're like, hey, I don't see any of my times, then it may not be posting correctly. So you want to check that as well. Okay. Just another little thing on Velocidrone. If you're new and you're like, hey, what kind of computer can we run that on? This shows you, if you go into Velocidrone, I think it's under the shop. It has the minimum specifications for Velocidrone. This is the minimum, and then this is the recommended. So might want to give those to your IT folks if you've got a chance to do some upgrades. All right, now let's talk about races. So it's been a little bit of a pickle for us here this month. We've got some great changes coming in races, but some of those changes have been a little slower to roll out than we had hoped, but want to give you some updates on those things. So when you go to races.dronesinschool.com, so for those of you that are new, we talked about all those different events and things we have. All of that is managed in this system, which is called RACES. It's the Registration and Competitive Events System, RACES. RACES runs on a tool called League OS. Okay, so League OS is what makes that work. And you will see those terms used kind of interchangeably. Races is League OS. League OS is Races for us. Okay, so we called it Races because we thought that was clever. We also, if we decided to change to a different management software, we wouldn't have to rebrand, right? So our thing will always be called Races. It'll always be at races.dronesinschool.com is where you will go to manage your teams, sign up for events, see the leaderboards, all those kind of things. When you go there, this is what it will look like. Okay, so this is what League OS, again, that's the software team that we use, what they call their version 1 or V1 of their software, League OS. This is what we had last year. This still works. So those of you that have been with us and you're like, I just know how this works, it still works. January 1st is currently the timeline we've been given. This system will be fully rolled over to what they're calling their V2 version. Okay? When you log into Races, you're in League OS, you're going to go up here to the top, and we have the V2 preview. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. So V2, they've structured it a little bit differently. They're really working to make improvements. If you're not familiar with League OS, the software and the folks that we work with, they started in drone racing. They moved over to esports. So League OS is used to run thousands of esports teams around the nation. I know all of Ohio uses League OS. A lot of the colleges are using it to manage all of their esports and their matches and all those things. So a lot of the things in there are kind of esports specific. They're partnering with us to try to kind of branch out into things beyond esports and get back to their roots, which was in drone racing. What they've done, the original V1 was set up to be kind of an all-in-one portal. So if you wanted to see how your teams were doing, you could go there and see stuff, and you would also go there to manage your teams. In V2, they've kind of split those apart. So this is what we call the V1 or the V2 site, okay, which eventually in January, maybe sooner if we decide to pull a trigger on it, but in January, when you go to races.dronesinschool.com, you'll see this page, which is currently called V2. Okay. This is where you will get leaderboards. So if you look on here, you'll be able to look at standings. You can click on details, and then this will show you, okay, this is the simulator race October, middle school time trial. Here's the current middle school teams. Matt asked if the current leaderboards are correct or if they're still having some issues. So I believe they're still having some issues. They tell me they're correct. So we've got a little bit of investigation yet to do. Matt, that's exactly why we are extending our October race deadline to the 10th to kind of work out a few more of these bugs we've had with this rollover. They are not correct as right now. Right. So we got a few things. I put a ticket with them as well. So we'll get these things straightened out. So this is where you'll be able to kind of see what is going on with your team. Now, the way this works is in the simulator, okay, in Velocidrone, you have that player name and that user ID. That has to be tied into your team so that those things can connect and get pulled in here into this leaderboard. Okay, eventually we'll have other things, details, schedules, all those things will be in there. But right now, you'll see we only have, the simulator that we're currently working on. Our goal is to automatically register all teams for the simulator races and all the teams for the virtual races. So you shouldn't have to do anything. I'll show you how you can register, but you shouldn't have to do anything for those. You will have to register yourself for live events. So as live events start to populate, we send out emails about those. You will have to sign up for those in races. Now, before I go too far with that, I just want you to understand this here will be information. Now, this is still rolling out. So not everything here. So you can see they've got all the different teams. Oh, this is new. I didn't even know they had the team in here. So it shows you the teams, where they're located on a map. Okay, all those are set up. That's pretty cool. I didn't even know that was there. That was just added here probably today. So you see they're making changes here all the time. So you can see all the drones and school teams that are out there on the world that are signed up. Okay. News, we'll be posting in this more as this gets rolled out. So when you come in, you'll see different articles that'll be on the front page. You'll be able to click news, see updates here as well. And that's what this is kind of used for. So if your kids are like, hey, where are we placing? They'll be able to go to races.dronesinschool.com. Okay, and they can go in here. This link will take you directly to the Edge site. I'm going to put this in the chat. So you just make a note of that. So if you just want to give that to your students, so if you're like, I'm tired of them asking me and I have to log in and see where we're at, they can just go to that page. And that is a public page that they can share. They can, watch, kind of keep an eye on what's going on until we roll over to races.dronesinschool.com. So that's your public facing page, which is in this new V2 layout. Yes. So Katrina pointed out that there are some racers in Velocidrone, the tracks that we post, they're just open for anybody. So anybody can get on that track and fly the track. So AK was towards the top. I think he actually got beat recently. Was actually a pro racer that just said, "Hey, that looks like fun," and they decided to fly it. The nice thing with this V2 layout of races in League OS is that this leaderboard filters all those out. Okay, so when you go to this leaderboard, this gets rid of all those other accounts that maybe shouldn't be in there. Okay, and it just shows you the times for approved Drones in School teams. Now, how that happens is you are going to, or your student, are going to make that connection for one of your players. And you're going to do that through what's called the dashboard, currently called the competitor dashboard. We just call it the dashboard. So again, this page is where you're going to see what's going on, see where you're ranking. When you're like, I need to do some setup. I need to change some things about my team. You'll do that in the dashboard. So when I click on the dashboard, I think right now, it does. It opens a new tab now. That's good. That got fixed too. Okay, so I'm in here as Charles. Charles Xavier is the coach for Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. And underneath here, I will see my team. So if I go to members, I'll see all the members I have in my school. Okay? And if I go to teams, I can click on these and I can see at the top what the team name is. So that's the Wolverines. If I click on this one, this is Team X. So currently, if I look over here, Team X it has one player and it has me as the coach. If I go back to Wolverines, here's my players, and I have Logan as manager and me as the coach. If I want to make some changes, I'm going to click over here on Manage Team Members. Okay, and this is where I could add someone. So I saw Katrina was in my roster for my team. So I can just click on this, drop down like, oh, yep, Katrina's on this team now. Boom, add her in. Okay, so now she's on that team. Now, the one thing I think that we're getting hung up on, two things actually. One is what's called the team role. Your team members, your students, have to be listed as players. Okay? And you have to not be listed as a player because you are not participating. So as I look at this, I see all these people down here. I can change these by clicking this pencil, and I can scroll over and hover. It will show me, okay, that's player. This is coach with the whistle, captain, manager, all those things. Okay, so I want to have my players listed as players. Whoever my project manager is, I actually want to list them as a captain, okay, because they're kind of the team captain role. We don't have project manager in the choices, so we were going to use captain. Once all those are set, as long as I wait a couple seconds, it should be, I can't denote the last one, I'm not sure why. Okay. I also, if I want to get rid of somebody from a team, I can use the trash can here to take them out. If I make them inactive, that would mean that they're not going to be able to show up on any roster. So this is where I will set those up. Now your students can go in and make their connection. If your students should have accounts, unless they're a detached account, which we'll talk about in a minute. When your student logs in, down here at the bottom is very similar to Discord. I don't know if your students use Discord, but down here you've got your player name, and then there's a little gear here that lets you set up all of the assets or configurations for this account. So when I click that little gear, this is where I can set up things about me. So your students can do this for themselves. So they can get in, log in with their account. They can, add in anything that their school allows them to add. They can add in a picture of themselves or a picture of something if they want to have an avatar. nameplate, name image, headshot, all those things. They can change the color if they want it to be a different color from your team, or if they want it to match the team color. That's all possible. Now, the important part is the connection. So this is what you have to make sure one of your students has. We don't want it for all of them. We just want one student to have the connection for the Velocidrone account you're using. If you have more than one Velocidrone account, then that Velocidrone account could be assigned, right, to, or you could have multiple students, each with their own Velocidrone account. So for me, my Velocidrone account is Gideon. Okay, that's what I put in there, and that's what I have linked up. To add a Velocidrone account, I hit Velocidrone. It asks me for the player name, user ID. I showed you where those were. You hit plus. It verifies it's correct, and boom, you're good to go. If you change the player name on Velocidrone.com, like I showed you earlier, we've been told that LeagueOS races will go out and find that change and bring it in, and it will automatically correct this based on the user ID. Okay, so that's what we are hoping is going to work as planned. Okay, so some of you, I'm going to guess, between those two items may have some issues that come up. If you don't have your student listed as a player, then they won't get pulled, because what Races does is it pulls the times in from Velocidrone. It looks for a player who has that Velocidrone account connected, and then it puts that time on your team's leaderboard, puts you on the leaderboard for your team. Okay. If that connection's not there, or if that person's not listed as a player, it's going to say, oh, they're not a player. They're not on the roster. Not going to have them on there. So that would be, I'm going to guess, a reason why some of these aren't showing up. There's also been some issues with the syncing with Velocidrone. So if you're pretty sure you've got everything right, send us an email, info at dronesandschool.com, and we'll get that worked out. The other thing that you may need to do, so if you're like, hey, I've got a Velocidrone account, or maybe I've got a student who's not 13, they can't have an account, you'll have to create what's called a detached account. Right? To my knowledge, that still has to be done in V1. So if you need help with that, we've got a video on it. Or again, just send us an email at info@dronesandschool.com. We can walk you through that. Okay, so that's kind of your team management. Now, there also is, if you click this little question mark, there is a little support center. Okay, and this is the dashboard. So, how do you create a LeagueOS account? How do I add or remove players from my team? Connect your account to game accounts. That's the Velocidrone link or connection. How to manage my team, how to invite players and coaches to my team, how to join a team if I already have a link, managing my group details. So all those things are in there. Okay? Don't worry too much about these other things, with the exception of detached member. That's there as well. Some of these things are more for running LeagueOS site. You're really just worried about dashboard and V1. Okay, are kind of your two places you want to look. But feel free to go in there and see if that provides a little extra support to get you where you want. Obviously, you can just search if you're not sure, and that might help as well. I know kind of getting going, it's new for you because you're like, hey, Drones in School is new. And then we threw on this extra little layer of, hey, LeagueOS is making some upgrades, which are really going to be great. But since they weren't quite done as early as we thought they would be, it's causing another extra wrinkle. So just, again, reach out to us, info@dronesandschool.com. We'll make sure that you're in there. Last thing I'll talk about with the simulator racing, the other thing we had, a couple people reached out over the weekend and we solved some problems, is make sure, let me swipe back here to Drones in School, okay? So if you haven't looked at this page yet, make sure you look at the details. We've got our October sim race that's detailed here, right? If you haven't connected your account, click that. It takes you down to how to connect your account. Okay, so here are the option 1, option 2. This is the detached account. This is the one I just showed you. Okay, so those are both there. Now, this actually shows the V1 version. We'll replace that with V2 here later this week. The other video I want to show is this one here. And if you've been involved, you've already done this, so it's not a big deal. But there's a few things in setup you need to do in Velocitron so it automatically uploads your time to the leaderboard. So this shows you how to download the track, which I know some of you already figured out. But there's a little option in Velocidrone. Let me see if I can play it real quick and just scrub to it maybe. So in Velocidrone,
a couple of things you want to do. First of all, you want to come into Velocidrone and click on Options, and you want to go to Auto Leaderboard Time Upload. You want that to be yes. It will be defaulted to no. Turn that to yes. So when you run your track, it'll automatically upload your times. It only uploads the fastest time, so you don't need to worry about overwriting any old times.
So if you haven't done that, that may also be causing an issue, because if you're flying the track, but it's not getting uploaded to Velocidrone's server, then the time won't show up in the leaderboard. It also, I don't think, will show up on the leaderboard on your device. So you probably would see it there. So that may be another issue to work through. Okay. Again, some of these things are initial like setup deals. I know people are jumping in. We've got people in different places in the process. We got veterans teams like Matt that have been here for 5-6 years. And we've got new teams that have been here for 5 minutes. So all of you are kind of figuring that out. But that initial setup, make sure you watch that video. If you're new to Drones in School Simulator races, make sure you watch that video and complete those steps so you have Velocidrone configured the way it needs to be to work automatically. Now, let's jump back over here to our races system, and I'm going to stay in this dashboard. Okay, so again, this is, they haven't know what they call it yet. I just call it the V2 site, the main site, and then we have dashboard. The other thing you can do in dashboard is you can sign up for events. Okay, so if I go in here and I click, I've got my group at the top. So this tells me about my school. Okay, or my teams, all the ones I have access to. If I'm in more than one school, I can change my group, okay, or my organization. The second little icon is my leagues. So these are the leagues that I'm a member of, and all of you will be members of Drones in School. When I click on Drones in School, I'll see all of the events that are listed. Okay, so here's my simulator race, November 2025. And below this event, I'll see all the teams that I have that are eligible to participate in this event. So like, oh yeah, I want to do a simulator race. I can hit register and boom, okay? This is not authorized, but hopefully it is. Okay, there's all my teams. I be registered and zippity-doo, good to go. If I go in here, I can also see the things I'm already signed up for. So if I have something I'm already signed up for, then I can go in and modify that roster as well. Okay, so let's say I added a student, I signed up for an event, and then another student got added in. I might need to go in and modify that roster for that particular event to put that student in. Or maybe a kid's not going to come. We're going to a live race. I know, hey, Johnny's not going to be able to come to this one. I can take them off of that roster. So the person who's running the event knows, okay, they have 6 team members, but only 5 are coming to this particular event. So that's where you'll manage. And this is a lot easier. It used to be you had to click and register and then click on another team, click back and forth, back and forth. Now you have all your teams here. You just click, 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 all the teams you want to register, and boom, you're good to go. Okay, so this should make this a lot easier.
What is the plan then if you're pretty sure that we've got what 7 days left on the October races, and you're pretty sure everything is loaded in properly, we've got the correct connections, and it's still not popping up? What is the plan for that?
So we can manually score it, right? Because we can pull. So I have the ability to go into Velocity. Anybody can really. If you go to the track leaderboard, you can download the track leaderboard, and it will show you everybody. And again, as Katrina pointed out in the chat, that's going to have everybody, right? It's going to have AK and all these different people. So we can pull that. we can pull all the member lists with all of the Velocidrone connections, and then we can manually, with some Excel, Google spreadsheet formulas, we can track down everybody that way. That's the way we used to do it. So it's no big deal for us if this doesn't work by the 10th. My friends at LeagueOS are pretty sure it will work before then. They've said it's not going to be a problem. It will definitely be ready. And they thought it was working. I think we've got one more bug to scratch out here because we were having an update. I put in a new team member for another school, had it refresh, it showed up. So I think it's working. I'm just not sure that the auto update where it's going out and pulling new times automatically, that may not be functioning the way they thought it was. So I'm hoping that'll be done. If it doesn't work before the 10th, we can still manually score it. So it's not a problem. As long as when you go into Velocidrone, and we'll put out here before, I'll try to do it at the end of this. Well, I'll probably try to do it on Wednesday or Thursday, so you'll have a list. I'll send out another newsletter with like, okay, here's all the player names that we have times for, just like I did last week. So if you see, okay, we're on the player list, we're going to score points here for this thing. So even if it doesn't show up in the leaderboard, it will be good. But hopefully between this call and emails from you folks that like, hey, this isn't working, we can do a little bit of bug smashing, right? And see, okay, William says it's set up. Look at everything. It looks like it's set up. Go to the LeagueOS folks and they can be, okay, yeah, here's an issue in our code that's causing a problem. But they've used this before, so I'm not sure why it's not playing nicey nice. I know they're kind of rolling over this new version of LeagueOS, so that could be the deal. But we will get it figured out for sure. Hopefully that's encouraging. Okay, as we kind of wrap up, wanted to point out to everyone, this is the score sheets for those submitted items. Obviously, your race time is obvious. You figured that out. But this is the score sheet for the marketing video. This is for the portfolio and display. And this is for design engineering. And these are the last pages in our season guide that's on the website. For the virtual race, I cannot stress, every year we get some teams that submit stuff and I'm like, did they even look at the score sheet? Because like they didn't include some of these basic things that are on the list. Make sure you're telling your students, look at the score sheet, look at the judge's rubric. That is the best way to maximize your score. Make sure it's very clear. Our judges are looking at, 30, 40 different portfolios and displays. Make sure it's very clear, okay? So the video contains a logo. Don't hide the logo down the corner and make it super small. They're going to miss that. Make the logo front and center, right? So they see it. Oh, yep, there it is. There's the logo. Call to action. Make sure it's very clear. Don't kind of be ambiguous of like, well, hey, I hope we see you at the match on Thursday. Like, that was your call to action. That doesn't really make sense. Make it very clear. Like, we want you to do this. Right, so make sure it's clear for our judges. It will help your team maximize their points. Also, looking at each of these graduated things and making sure, okay, is it clear and concise? Have you had a depth of topic, or is it all kind of focused on one thing? Make sure that they're looking at that. Now, every judge is going to look at this a little differently, but the clearer you can make it for them that that's your intent, that will help your score. Okay, so again, cannot stress enough to make sure your students look at that before you submit. Or they'll look at it after they submit because they'll get a score back that they didn't think was right. With that, I'll jump to questions. We will be sending out more information. We'll have more information on the website as LeagueOS continues to make updates and we make videos showing how this works. We'll be sending those and updating some of the videos on our website to match that V2. As I said, if you already know how V1 works, you can continue to use V1. I would recommend even those veterans that are out there that understand how V1 worked before, and I don't really need to know the new one. You will need the new one starting in January because LeagueOS is going to force us to roll over to the new one. So kind of keep that in mind and start kind of playing with that new version and seeing how that works. And if you find any issues, right, if there's bugs or things like, man, I thought it was going to work like this, but it says there's an error, take a screenshot of those, send them to info@drones-in-school so we can get those over to the development team at LeagueOS and get those bugs squished out so everything works smoothly as soon as possible. Susie, do you have a question?
Yes, I have a question. When we started to assign roles, I think one of the best drivers for the simulator was assigned like a coach to coach everybody else, but that would be the wrong role for them, right? But
Yeah.
he already did like a race, and he said he updated and he has a time. So the time wouldn't have added. So if I just change it to just player, does he have to do the race again?
No.
Or-
So what will happen? Yeah. So great question. So if you've got something that's misconfigured in races where you're like, I have them as a coach, but they need to be a player. When you change into player, when everything syncs again between Velocidrone and races, it'll go, okay, oh, there's the person, there's the time, because the leaderboard time always stays in Velocidrone. So their time, once they fly, it stays in Velocidrone. The only reason it's not showing up in races is because, again, if they're marked as a coach and not a player, then it'll say, oh, that's not a player, so I'm going to ignore that time for now. When they become a player, it'll say, oh, they're a player now, use the time.
Okay, so eventually, like, when do they usually sync?
Well, it's supposed to sync every hour, but
Every hour.
as somebody mentioned on the call, it doesn't seem like it's syncing every hour yet. So that will be the goal. We've got a couple tickets in with them right now, trying to figure out what's going on with that. But as soon as that's figured out, it should be within an hour. At the very worst case, the next day, it'll sync, and then everything should start to flow properly. And if you want, once you make those changes, send us an email at info@drones-in-school and say, hey, I changed this player. They were coach. They're now player. Here's their name in LeagueOS and races. Then we can kind of track that through and make sure that that's working. That'd be a great test for us to, again, we're working with them because they're,
Yeah.
as
I
with all
understand.
software, right? It's either a user issue or it's a software issue. The people that make the
Yes.
software say it's a user issue. Us users think it's a software issue, and we have to have evidence to figure out which is which.
It's a lot of details to get used to. Yeah, he was actually marked as player and coach, but now I just took the coach out.
Yep.
And also, since, what happens is that in our school, the Velocidrone is blocked. So they're doing it on at their home. So I'm not sure exactly what he did, but I see that there's a Velocidrone beside his username. So that means
Okay.
that he linked it.
Yep.
Right?
I think it's connected. Yeah. Yeah. And I can go in and look at that. Just email us that and I'll look through and I'll make sure that player name's on the leaderboard in Velocidrone and kind of track that
If
through.
not, then something on his end, like, I don't know, the racetrack or something. So we have to double check on what actually happened. But
Right.
we'll double check, and then I'll send you the email. Thank you so much.
Yep. No problem. Yep. We'll work through these little bugs and we'll get them all mushed and everything will just be smooth sailing.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks everybody for hanging out. Hopefully you learned a few things.